In this session, we are going to look at the participle. Now, the participle is 2 of 5 forms or principal parts that every verb has. Now, those 2 forms are the present participle and the past participle. Okay, let's understand that with this example. The whispering breeze scattered dust and seeds across the abandoned fields. Now, here, whispering acts as my present participle and abandoned acts as my past participle. Now, normally the present participle is used by adding ing to the verb, whereas the past participle you add ed if it's a regular verb. Now, we're going to understand these forms even better. So let's understand the 2 forms of the participle out of the 5 forms with some examples. Okay, so let's look at a couple of verbs. So these are the verbs giggle, help and jump. So let's look at the present, simple present form of these verbs. Giggles, helps, and jumps. So the simple past is giggled, helped and jumped. What's the past participle of these verbs? Giggled, helped and jumped. And the present participle would be giggling, helping and jumping. And the infinitive would be to giggle, to help and to jump. Right? Now these verbs are called regular verbs. What are regular verbs? Regular verbs basically don't have a lot of substantial changes when they are changing forms in the tenses. So, normally if it's a word ending in a vowel, then I will add D. So for example, share, S-H-A-R-E, it ends in a vowel. So I'll add D. Shared. Or scare, I'll add D, scared. If it's a word ending in a consonant like want, I'll add wanted. Or shout, I'll add ed, shouted. So basically, verbs that I add ed or d, depending on whether it's a vowel or a consonant, are regular verbs and they don't have a lot of change, right? So we looked at the past participle and present participle, basically of all these 3 verbs which are regular. Now let's look at a couple of irregular verbs. Bring, ring, sing, ring and swim. So what is the simple present of this? Okay. Brings, so I just add S to all of this, which is my simple present. Rings, sings, rings and swims. The simple past would be for bring it's brought. For sing it's sang. For ring it's rang. And for swim it's swam. Okay. Now what is the past participle of these verbs. This remains the same, brought, but sing, sang, sung. Ring, rang, rung. And swim, swam, swung. Okay? And the present participle would be bringing, singing, ringing, and swimming. And what is the infinitive? To plus verb. So to bring, to sing, to ring, and to swim. Okay? So if you notice, now these are my irregular verbs. So if you notice, the irregular verbs, they have substantial change when the forms of the tenses changes, right? If you notice, bring and ring, though the last three letters end in ing, but if I look at the past participle form, it completely looks different. Brought and rung. There's no any match when I change the forms of the tenses in the irregular verbs. Okay? So basically, irregular verbs take up different endings depending on which tense it's representing. Alright? So for example, think becomes thought. Go becomes went. It's completely different from the base verb and the past participle. Alright? So out of these 5 forms, the 2 forms, past participle and present participle, will be the participle that we're going to look at. And we also have a third participle, which is the perfect participle. We're also going to take a look at that through some examples.